can actually go live with pre-recorded video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
Hey there and welcome. So,
देखिए YouTube पे आपने कई बार देखा होगा कि जैसे कोई मान लो किड्स का चैनल है तो वहां पे जो किड्स की वीडियोस होती हैं वो लाइव चलती रहती है और
hey there and welcome. So, you're getting ready for the IELTS Academic test. I know, it can feel like a pretty huge challenge, but that's exactly why we're here. The whole point of this explainer is to break it all down and give you a really clear, straightforward tour of what to expect on test day. So let's just dive right in. This is the big question, isn't it? I mean, you've probably heard about the 4 different sections, but what does that actually look like when you're sitting in the exam room? What are they testing, and how do they do it? Well, we're going to go through it piece by piece, so you can walk in there feeling totally confident. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start by decoding the listening test, then navigate our way through reading and writing. After that, we'll tackle the speaking test, and we'll wrap it all up with a solid game plan you can take with you. Let's get to it. Okay, first up is the listening test. This is all about showing how well you can understand spoken English, in all sorts of different situations, from a casual chat to a university lecture. It really is all about sharp, focused attention. Now, the format here is so important to understand. You get one recording, it's split into 4 different parts, and this is the kicker, it's only played once. That is the main challenge. But here's the good news. You get a full 10 minutes at the very end to transfer your answers over to the answer sheet. And trust me, that's a lifesaver. So the test isn't just about listening, it's about what you do with what you hear. You might find yourself filling out a form with details you're hearing, or maybe labeling a map of a campus as someone gives directions, or even matching different speakers to the opinions they're expressing. The variety definitely keeps you on your toes.
filling out a form
This
with
right here,
details you're hearing,
or
or
maybe
maybe
labeling a map of a campus
that's a
listening section.
lifesaver. Directions.
Do not
Or
wait.
even matching
As you're
isn't just
speaking,
about
you've got to
listening,
get it down
it's
to
about
the
what you do.
You can always
Variety
read it out during those 10 minutes when you get
definitely
to the
keeps you
end.
on
The real
your
skill
toes.
is listening and writing at the same time. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the reading test. Now, this section is basically a 60-minute marathon. It's a real test of not just your understanding, but also your speed, because you're dealing with long academic-style articles. Whoa, look at that last row. This is a big one. Unlike the listening test, there is 0 extra time to transfer your answers. None. You've got to read 3 pretty long passages and write all your answers directly on the answer sheet, all inside that 60-minute window. Time management is absolutely everything here. The questions here are really designed to get you thinking analytically. You're not just plucking out facts. You're trying to figure out a writer's opinion. Is it a clear yes, a no, or is the information not given at all? Or you might have to match headings to paragraphs, which means you have to get the main gist of each chunk of text. Okay, this is a question everybody asks, right? When you're in a panic scanning a super long article for an answer, it would be amazing to know if the answers just follow the order of the text, wouldn't it? And the answer is, for most question types, yes, they do. And that, my friends, is a huge strategic advantage. For things like sentence completion, the answer for question 2 will pop up in the text right after the answer for question 1. But, and this is a big but, for tasks like choosing headings, you'll have to jump around. So the key is, you gotta know your task type. Please take this piece of advice to heart. The reading test isn't a vocabulary quiz, it's about whether you can find information and understand the main ideas. You can often figure out the right answer from the context, even if you don't know every single word. So don't get stuck on one unfamiliar word. Okay, on to the writing test. Now it's your turn. This is where you get to produce your own academic English. It's broken into 2 very different tasks, and you've got just 60 minutes to do them both. This slide really lays it out perfectly. For task 1, you get some kind of visual, like a graph or a chart, and your job is to describe what you see. You're basically a data reporter, summarizing the main points in at least 150 words. Then for task 2, you put on your essayist hat. You're given a topic or a problem, and you need to write a formal essay of at least 250 words giving your response. Now this is probably the most important strategy for the whole writing section.
Task 2 is worth more marks. It carries more weight in your final score. That's why the recommendation is to spend 40 minutes on Task 2 and only 20 on Task 1. Seriously, don't spend half an hour making Task 1 look perfect if it means you run out of time on the much more important essay.
And finally, we get to the speaking test. This part is actually a one-on-one interview with a certified examiner. It's designed to feel like a pretty natural, comfortable conversation, all just to see how well you can speak English.
The whole thing is pretty short and sweet, usually lasting between 11 and 14 minutes. It's a face-to-face chat, and yes, it is recorded. But don't let that make you nervous. It's just for quality control and to make sure everything is fair.
The test has a really clear three-part structure. Part 1 is just a warm-up, really. They'll ask you simple questions about familiar things like your hometown or your job. Then in Part 2, they'll hand you a topic card, you get 1 minute to think, and then you speak about that topic for 1 to 2 minutes. Part 3 then kind of zooms out and expands on the topic from Part 2, turning it into a more abstract discussion between you and the examiner. So what are the examiners actually listening for? Well, it all comes down to these 4 things right here. They're looking at your fluency, your vocabulary, your grammar, and your pronunciation. That's it. Knowing that these are the 4 criteria is your key to preparing effectively.
And hey, if you're worried about what they might ask you, don't be. Look at this. You're not going to be asked about some obscure scientific theory. The topics are about everyday life, things like describing a favorite movie, a memorable holiday, or a person you admire. The test is about your English skills, not your expert knowledge.
Okay, we have officially toured all 4 sections of the test. So now, let's pull all that information together into a simple, effective game plan that you can use for the entire exam. These are the golden rules, folks. First, never ever leave a question blank, especially in listening and reading. There's no penalty for wrong answers, so a guess is always, always better than nothing. Second, be neat. If the examiner can't read your handwriting, you can't get the point. And of course, always keep an eye on the clock and try to save a minute or 2 to check your work for simple spelling or grammar mistakes.
And there you have it. We've cracked the code. The test isn't such a mystery anymore, is it? You now have a clear map of the IELTS Academic test, so the power is officially in your hands. The only question left is, what's the first step you're going to take to get ready?